Hello fish keepers, it's Steve here from Seahorse Aquariums in Dublin. Just going to give you a quick rundown on our new Red Sea display tank. As you can see, it's up and running and it's got lovely colours in there with all the nice corals in it. It's a Red Sea Reefer 425XL, so it's about around 425 litres with a sump on it as well. Okay, so we'll give a quick rundown on some of the corals that we have in here. So we have a nice range of euphyllias on this side. There's all your torch corals, hammer corals and stuff like that as well. Small amount of SPS there at the top. Around the middle then we're going to go down, probably going to do a nice zoa garden. So you can see some of the zoas along here. Some nice orange plate and green plate corals there as well. And a nice little anemone there in the front. And on the right hand side we mostly have like scolies and some gonoporas there at the back. So that's a quick rundown on the coral wise. We've got a nice live rock there as well, so we're using the Real Reef rock. It's their branching rock, which I think was quite effective, giving you a nice picture of what you can do with different rocks. Fish wise, do a quick rundown. There's a nice convict tang there just swimming around, beautiful little fish. Some nice clownfish in there as well. Then at the back there, some Advanzi Angel or Antius in there as well. There's a nice little copper band somewhere. There's a nice wrasse there, which we think is a juvenile Scots fairy wrasse. So, and I'll just bring you around the corner here so you can actually see around the side of it. You get a nice side view there. So the main thing I want to show you is the sump. So I'm just going to show you down into the sump and give you an idea of what's down there. For people that don't understand these tanks, just give you an idea of what happens on this. If you look carefully here, you see kind of an overflow box. So the water from the main tank flows down there and it goes down into the sump that's underneath. And I just show you these lights as well. So they're the Red Sea lights that are on the tank as well. They're the LED 90s, really good light. So full spectrum, a little bit of UV light in them as well. Really good, nice lights. So we go down to the sump, to show you down into the sump. So you imagine the water's then flowing down through the overflow. It comes down into the sump area. So this is the sump area here. Now we've kind of designed our own little system here. A little bit different from what Red Sea would do. But we're quite happy. We've run it on the big tank for the last 3 years. So it's a really simple, straightforward and efficient way of filtering the water from the tank. So if you imagine the water's coming down the weir and it comes down into our roller mat. So our roller mat is here. All right, so you can actually see it there. So there's a clean roll here. The water goes through the roller mat and then the waste ends up on a mat on the other side. Very straightforward system. Keeps the tank really clean. You don't have any filter socks or messing with filter media. So that does all that for you. After that, the water then flows from here down into our refugium. So we have a little algae bed in here. So you can see this is a bit of Cheeto algae that's floating around here. There's a little pump actually on the right hand side. It's hard to see it there, but it's in the corner here. And that's actually flowing water across and it's actually pushing the Cheeto up. So you get a much more efficient way of growing the Cheeto in here. The Cheeto grows because we have a nice little light over above it. It's actually a light made by AI, which is a good brand, and that light is actually ideal spectrum for growing algae. That's all it's for. So it's actually kind of a red light, so you can see a kind of red light over the top here. The idea of growing the algae is that some of the waste ends up as being nitrates and phosphates, and the algae itself will actually grow and consume the nitrates and phosphates, so you have nice clean water. After it leaves here, the water then flows up into the back of the tank. And in the back of the tank then we have a skimmer, which is this guy here. And this helps remove proteins, also helps remove CO2 from the water, increase the oxygen levels in the water as well. So there's a few things. The skimmer we are using here is a Deltec 600IX. It's a really good skimmer. So going from the skimmer then, you have a NIOS reactor beside it here, which is a really nice little reactor. The benefit of this, it's very easy. The pump is in the bottom of it. You just have to twist it off to take it out, to clean it or to change the media in it. The two medias we're running in it at the moment is a phosphate media and some carbon.
The phosphate made it just to remove phosphate, extra phosphates in water, and then the carbon helps keep the water clear and so forth. And then from there, the water then flows across there, and we have an Ecotech S2 return pump. So it's very hard to see it there, but there's actually a little pump there, and there's a pipe, and it pumps the water straight back up into the tank, and then that continuously filters the water, so the water is flowing from the tank down into the sump and back upwards. So that's your main kind of filtration on the tank. After that, then you want to add extra elements. You want to keep the tank at the right temperature. So on the right hand side, we have neatly done a whole new system here. We have our dosing pump. It's a D&D dosing pump here, so it's 4 channels. On this tank we're running ATI elements, so they will help control your alkalinity, calcium, magnesium across the pumps. We have a 4 pump there we might use for elements and trace elements, or maybe coral foods in the future as well. So that's an important part of running a tank. If you decide to keep corals, you really do need a dosing pump. Another thing that you can see down to the right, you can see the temperature of the tank at the moment is 24.4 degrees. I would never run a tank without a proper temperature controller. This is so important because I can just look there and I can see what temperature this tank is at the moment. If temperature goes too low, the alarm goes on, then I know a heater's not working. Temperature goes too high in the summer, I can set it to turn on chillers and stuff like that. So it's very, very important that you keep your tank at the right temperature. And the only really way to do it properly is with a proper temperature control, and they're not very expensive. So there's one thing you should always have. And then that's the control then for your return pump. So we can control it from here. It's an Ecotech, obviously it works on the new Ecotech Mobius system. So you can up and down the flow, change the flow, whatever you need to do from there. The controller here is controlling the flow pumps that are actually in the tank. So we use the Red Sea Reefer, which is a very, very good controller. Easy to control, can be controlled through Wi-Fi. You know, the flow then that we want in the tank is all controlled from the pumps that are in the tank. So it's a really, really great system for giving it wave effects, nutrient export. So, you know, we've got proper flow in there, so the corals receive the flow that they would in the wild. After that then, you can see all the dosing containers. These are tied in with the dosing pump. And finally, there's a chiller. So the chiller on this, it's gas in the last few years really that you needed to have a chiller on Irish tanks. Before that, we never really needed them, but we've noticed now during the summer, a chiller is really, really important. This is a Deltic 300 model. Ideally for a tank this size, keep the temperature at the right temperature, especially if you're going to keep LPS like euphyllias. They really don't like high temperatures, so that's kind of a critical thing nowadays in Ireland with global warming. And finally, we have something special on it as well. We've kind of really changed how we've done our auto top up. So we actually have water in this little container here. It's very, very neat under here, and that looks after the auto top up for the whole system. So just show you a quick back on that tank so you can see it there. Everything is, as you can see, and then there's a tank above it with our lights. So just want to say thanks for watching. If you have any questions, just give us a shout here in the shop, and happy reefing. Talk to you then. Take care.